People who have fled regimes that went authoritarian, what was your signal to leave? When the military shot unarmed protesters and just covered up the blood on the roads with sand to hide their crimes. Kid I went to high school with was photographed at a protest. Someone warned his parents, and he was over the border, without a passport, before the cops got to his house the next day to arrest him. When your neighbors suddenly start disappearing, and everyone acts like they never existed. That's when you know it's time to pack before someone decides you vanished too. When Putin was elected for the third time in direct violation of the Constitution. I kept telling my friends and family that we are officially a dictatorship and nothing good will come out of it. But everyone said it's no big deal because everything's been fine so far. I sure am glad that I left back then. When your friend in the national security calls and tells you to drop everything, go to the airport and buy the next ticket on the next departing flight. You either believe him or you don't. When the news started sounding less like reporting and more like a government group chat. When an annexation of a foreign land happened and the general attitude in the internet changed from opposing the government to supporting it and celebrating the annexation. Almost 50 years ago I was a student in Iran. I noticed religious groups were spreading propaganda and conspiracy theories. Women started covering their head. Uprising at universities and martial law followed. Military takeover of cities happened next. I decided to leave. A year later the Islamic Revolution happened. I see a lot of similarities with what's happening now in USA. This guy wanted to amend the Constitution to erase term limits. He held a referendum, lost it, and then, illegally, held the same referendum again a few months later. The day the amendment passed, I called an aunt abroad and asked if she had a couch. She did. I would have left when RFK started talking about making an autistic registry. You know, if I could afford to. When propaganda starts replacing facts, that's the warning sign. Not my story, but I know someone who lived under the crumbling Soviet Union. They were forced to flee when the Soviets started slaughtering civilians in a town close by as they wanted to withdraw from the USSR and the Soviets were moving towards them. They've shown me on Google Earth where they used to live and the land where their town was and where their house used to stand is just rubble. In the surrounding the towns are being rebuilt though. Race-related riot implicitly supported by the government. People were identified by census data, pulled out of their homes and lit on fire. I gathered my visa paperwork together the very day after a literal self-proclaimed dictator was elected to the most powerful position in my country. I am extremely fortunate to have had the means and professional opportunity to leave. This was a plan that had long been in the works, but I pulled the trigger after the election. Many of my fellow citizens who told me I was overreacting then are now trying to get out because said self-proclaimed dictator has in fact turned the country into a dictatorship. They started building concentration camps, bullied countries and people, and they were happy with it.